A man was shot while driving in Decatur. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm McLeod Hageman. That happened near Westmount Road and North Water Street. Police say a 32-year-old man was hit and he crashed into another vehicle. The 34-year-old woman driving that car had 2 children with her, and everyone was taken to the hospital. Police say the man has life-threatening injuries and people in the other vehicle should be all right. If you know anything, please call Decatur Police. Urbana High School was put on lockdown today. The district says a man pulled onto Race Street around 11 o'clock and a female student got into his car. Before driving away, the man got out and showed a gun. Students reported that information and the school immediately went on lockdown. Police say there was no threat to students or staff members. Many Central Illinois school leaders are trying to make it easier to get your child vaccinated.
My goal as a superintendent is to keep kids in school as much as possible.
And Monticello is working on a plan after surveying families. Nearly 500 of them have kids between 5 and 11, and they plan to get their child vaccinated. WCIA3's Sarah Lehman explains.
Across Central Illinois, many counties and schools are working to get 5 to 11-year-olds vaccinated, including Monticello School District. They're letting the local Walgreens use their middle school to get shots into arms. Superintendent Vic Zimmerman says they've had several families want to get their kids vaccinated, and now this could help. So
our health department asked me to do a survey of our parents to kind of see how our parents were thinking about their 5 to 11-year-olds. And we had a great return on our survey, and it showed that about 2/3 of our parents plan to get their 5 to 11-year-olds vaccinated.
Zimmerman says the vaccine is not required for these students, so ultimately it's the parents' decision. But he says the more people who are vaccinated, the easier it is to keep them in school.
My goal as a superintendent is to keep kids in school as much as possible.
Many parents still have several questions when it comes to getting their child vaccinated. Brent Reefsteck is a doctor at Carle Hospital. He says the vaccine side effects are the same as what most adults have experienced, but there weren't many reports of them in the clinical trials.
It's because adults, we're big babies when it comes to side effects. So when we get a little bit of a fever or get a headache, we complain about it, and kids just want to play. So kids just go play and they don't complain.
He says if side effects continue or your child starts acting differently, you should reach out to your doctor. To learn more, you can visit our website at WCIA.com. The Champaign School District is also putting together a vaccine clinic that will take place November 22nd and the 23rd. A second dose will be sent out next month. And here's a look at today's statewide coronavirus numbers. Fewer than 57% of the state is fully vaccinated, and there are more than 2,200 new cases. 22 more people have died. The 7-day positivity rate is still slowly increasing. That's now sitting at 2.7%. A teacher shortage forced the Danville School District to combine some of those classes. The assistant superintendent of elementary schools says 6 classes were being taught by substitute teachers, and some classrooms only had 14 or 15 students. He says combining classes will allow students to be taught by a licensed teacher.
It's not ideal for teachers. It's not ideal for administration. It's not ideal for students. But, we really believe after a year and a half of the COVID pandemic and kids kind of being in school, school off, remote instruction, that we really felt like, they were going to be best served by licensed teachers.
He says the largest classroom will hold 29 fourth graders starting next Monday. The district's maximum for the number of students in one class is typically 28. All other classes remain at or below that. The Justice Department has asked a federal judge to allow its vaccine requirement rule for employers to go forward after a temporary halt was issued. More than 24 states have challenged the Biden administration's rule. Meantime, another major vaccine manufacturer has officially submitted a request to get its booster shot authorized for all adults. Deborah Alfarone has the most from the White House.
The Biden administration has responded to a federal appeals court's temporary freeze against the Occupational Safety and Health Administration's rule. It mandates employers with 100 or more workers to implement a vaccine requirement or regular testing starting in January. In the filing, the Justice Department argues not allowing the rule would, quote, likely cost dozens or even hundreds of lives per day, in addition to large numbers of hospitalizations, other serious health effects, and tremendous costs.
These are policies that are protecting workforces and avoiding disruptions related to employees getting sick with COVID.
It comes as vaccine manufacturer Pfizer has asked the FDA to grant emergency use authorization for its booster shots for all adults.
The third dose is the one that gives very, very high level of protection, higher than the original achieved levels of protection, which was 95%. With the 2 doses.
Right now, only seniors and those who are at high risk are eligible for the Pfizer booster in the U.S.
The U.S. Surgeon General has released a toolkit to help health professionals, educators, and community leaders combat vaccine misinformation.
We believe that every parent has a right to the facts so they can make decisions for their children based on accurate scientific information.
It comes nearly a week after the administration's rollout of Pfizer's pediatric doses for kids ages 5 to 11. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News, the White House.
And according to the latest CDC numbers, more than 78% of Americans older than 12 have received at least 1 dose of a coronavirus vaccine. The Decatur Police Department is asking for about 15% of the city's American Rescue Plan money. Interim Chief Shane Brandel says the $2.5 million will replace technology that's at least 10 years old. He says the money would be spread out, so for a few years. Brandel says he would like to see another portion of that go toward an online crime reporting system and to recruit officers. And Decatur is currently down 18 deployable officers at this point.
If it's not a higher priority call, a call that might have waited 30 minutes to an hour, depending on, day of the week and time of day, might wait 3 to 4 to 5 hours. Or we're even in a position now where we're not able to respond and we have to call them back and say, listen, we're not going to be able to respond to this today. You need to call back tomorrow morning or something to that effect.
The mayor says the city supports that request and the city's 2022 budget will be finalized next week. A Central Illinois veteran got a brand new car today. He was one of 45 veterans around the country to get one. The Keys to Progress program paid for those vehicles. George Payton from Savoy was honored for his 27 years of service in the Army. Payton says he appreciates the recognition and says it's important to honor other veterans. He says you never know what someone is going through.
And having served with veterans throughout my 27 years, and then once I retired, having helped veterans for the last 14 years, and I've helped them in many capacities.
He says that understanding what veterans have been through makes it more important for him to give back. A former teacher from Sherman is now the newest Brigadier General for the Illinois National Guard. Mark Alicia graduated from the U of I and he taught for 6 years. He was mobilized for a second time shortly after 9/11. After that, he went full-time with the National Guard, and since then, he's been climbing the ranks.
A bit of it's overwhelming, to be quite honest with you. It's a long process. I knew for, a couple months that it was happening, but really until, you do the oath of office and you get pinned, that it really hits you that, that moment is there.
And he will oversee a lot of the logistics for National Guard missions, including disaster relief and some of those vaccine clinics. Champaign County Crime Stoppers has a new solution to curb the violence, but they need your help to execute that. We'll explain what you can do to help. Plus, travelers can expect some changes when booking their trips, whether you could be impacted this holiday season.